Okay, so what if the most important thing about you was actually decided before the universe even existed? That's a huge thought, right? Well, today we're diving into one of the biggest, most foundational ideas in all of Scripture: God as the creator. Let's get into it.
And it all starts right here. Genesis 1:1. Just 10 words in the English translation. Think about it. The very first sentence of the entire Bible isn't some long, complicated philosophical argument. It's not a scientific proof, nope. It's just a simple, powerful, universe-defining declaration. This one verse, it's the bedrock for everything that comes after. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 4 parts. First, we'll look at that bold opening statement. Then, we'll get into the architect behind it all. After that, we'll explore what creation itself reveals about his character. And finally, and this is the big one, we'll bring it all home and see why this cosmic story matters to you. So let's jump into part 1, the unargued beginning. What I find so stunning here is the Bible's confidence. You gotta notice what it doesn't do. It doesn't spend a single word trying to prove God exists. It just states it as the starting point for everything. And really, this is the heart of it all. Scripture doesn't present God as some theory to be debated, It presents him as the pre-existing reality. Before time, before matter, before anything, there was God. Everything else that exists, well, it's a direct result of him. So this isn't an opening argument. It's the foundation for the entire story. Now, check this out. The story comes full circle. Fast forward hundreds and hundreds of years after Genesis was written, and the Gospel of John opens with you guessed it, the exact same 3 words, in the beginning. That is absolutely not a coincidence. It's making a claim that is so huge, it changes everything. It's saying that the story that began in creation finds its ultimate meaning in a person, Jesus, the Word who was there from the very, very start. So, that leads us right into our second big idea. If creation has a creator, that means the universe wasn't just some big, happy accident. It was an act of purpose, of design, of intention. So, who exactly is this architect? And this passage from Colossians, wow, this is where the lens really comes into focus. It flat out identifies Jesus as the agent of all creation, everything we can see and everything we can't. But look closer, because there's more. It says he's not just the one who kicked it all off. He's the one who's actively sustaining it right now, the one in whom it all, and I love this phrase, holds together. I mean, just think about that for a second. Physicists today are searching for the fundamental forces that hold the universe together, right? Like the cosmic glue binding every single atom. But 2,000 years ago, the Apostle Paul makes this absolutely staggering claim. He says that force, well, it has a name. It's not just an impersonal law of physics. It's a person. The very fabric of reality, he says, is held together by Jesus. That's a mind-blowing thought. Okay, so if God is the architect and Jesus is the agent of creation, did they leave a signature on their work? Oh, absolutely. The way God created reveals who he is. And the first 2 chapters of Genesis, they give us this incredible 2-part portrait of his nature. Just look at this incredible contrast. In Genesis chapter 1, the name for God is Elohim. This is the transcendent, all-powerful, cosmic creator who just speaks galaxies into existence. He says, "Let there be light," and bam, there's light. But then in chapter 2, the name shifts to Yahweh Elohim, and the whole picture changes. This is the intimate, personal God who gets his hands dirty, who kneels in the dust to shape humanity like a potter working with clay, and breathes life into him face to face. It's amazing. He is both infinitely vast and radically close. And this dual nature, being all-powerful yet deeply personal, that's a theme you see all through Scripture. He's a God of relationship, not some lonely, isolated being. He actually desires a connection with his creation. And maybe the most beautiful picture of this is how the instructions for building the tabernacle, God's special dwelling place on earth, they actually mirror the 7-day pattern of creation. It's almost like a mini creation story, a special place designed for heaven and earth to come together. Which brings us to our final, and honestly, our most important stop. Because all this big cosmic truth, this ancient story, it has massive implications for how you and I live our lives, right here, right now. So why does this actually change anything? Well, this is where it gets incredibly personal. Look, if we're all just cosmic accidents, then these 3 things, purpose, meaning, and value, Those are things we have to scramble to invent for ourselves, right? But if we are created, then everything changes. It means our purpose isn't just random, it's designed. Our meaning isn't something that can just disappear, it's foundational. And our value, it's not something we have to earn, it's inherent. It's the difference between being a random accident and an intentional work of art.
And there's actually a word for this in the New Testament that I think just changes the whole game. In the book of Ephesians, we're called God's poema. Now, it's often translated as workmanship, which is fine, but it's the Greek word where we get our word poem. Think about that. It suggests we aren't just some functional project God made. We are his art, his crafted, one-of-a-kind masterpiece. And this idea, it completely flips our modern way of thinking about identity on its head. We tend to think of our identity as something we have to build from the ground up, right? But the biblical view is that your true identity is something you discover. It's more like seeing your true reflection for the very first time. The most important things about you, that you are chosen, that you are a masterpiece, those were decided before the universe even began. So you're not constructing your worth, you're just waking up to a worth that has been yours all along. So just let that sink in for a minute. It's really the ultimate conclusion of this whole journey. You are not just a random collection of molecules bouncing around in a meaningless universe. You are the intentional, valuable, and deeply loved masterpiece of the God who architected everything. So I want to leave you with this question to think about. If you really, truly believed you were a crafted poem, a masterpiece from the creator of the entire universe, how would that change the way you see yourself? How would it change your sense of value and your purpose? Starting today.